Picture this scenario, if you will, that you're out shooting 9 holes with your fellow doctor buddies, and your wife calls you to inform you that your son, Reginald III, has dropped below a 4.0 GPA. He's sitting at 3.9 now, and you need to get home and discipline him. So you throw your clubs in your Porsche 911 and you hurriedly back out and run into a pole. And now you're here.
Now what do you do?
This guy dropped off his Porsche because he has OCD, obsessive compulsive detailing disorder, and he polished a hole straight through his paint right here and right here where he covered it with a sticker. And he also has this, which is the biggest problem on the whole car. I'll give him this, like, that needs to get fixed, especially on something like this. And then also we're doing some work to the front bumper as well. It's a little bit hard to see, but there's some little wrinkles and dimples and stuff in the front. The front bumper's been resprayed before and they didn't do a very good job. There's just some visible like rock chips and stuff that they painted over. Some dust nibs they didn't sand out. There's like some cracking and stuff kind of starting through here. So just little things like that. We're getting this all buttoned up and making her look pretty and nice again. But I think the biggest thing we're going to be focusing on is the bumper for today. This looked worse before, and he pulled a hairdryer out. He heated it up. He pushed it out a little bit, and he still obviously was not happy with how it looked. We're going to go ahead and get this thing looking new again. You can see the plastic is deformed kind of through this little body line right here, which is going to be a total pain in the ass to get back. We've got some low spots through here. This is all really, really warped. And then up along the top here, there's some rippliness, you know, ridges, high spots, low spots, you name it. This thing's got it all. So your bumper might, you know, have 1 or 2 of these things. It might have all of them as well. It might not. Oh my God, dude. You can really tell that I just got over pneumonia. I still kind of have pneumonia and I look like I've been on antibiotics, dude. I got this inhaler. It's terrible. Do not get pneumonia. Don't block sand outside in the 30-degree weather for 3 hours straight. Lesson learned. Anyway, here's the tools you're gonna need. This is like a plastic soldering iron thing. You can just use a regular soldering iron for most of this. The little tips for this, you actually don't have to get an automotive thing. You can get them at like Michael's for wood burning. They have similar tips and stuff like that. Little plot twist or life hack, you know, whatever. You need a heat gun. Dremel, this is optional, but definitely a time saver. These are not optional most of the time with plastic repair because you don't want to burn your hands. Dolly, a little file, like just a finer grit file.
Something went wrong.
Oh my God, Siri. So we got a file. It's a little finer grit one. A little soft sanding pad with some 150 for some contour sanding. This is not drywall tape, believe it or not. This is like a little mesh reinforcement thing that you can kind of infuse with this putty, this 2-part putty, to, you know, create little like structural repairs in plastic. And then we got the hot stapler out too. We're going overboard. We're doing the whole thing. you know, we're just gonna do everything all at once. You don't need all these tools probably, but you know, why not? You want to learn, right? That's why you're here. So the first thing I'm gonna do is start dealing with the thing that looks the most annoying and obtrusive, which is this big ass split in the center. And what can happen a lot of times with plastic getting ripped like this, and even when it doesn't, when it just gets like, you know, deformed really badly, is plastic is, you know, really good at flexing and stretching and stuff like that. So you wind up with these little chunks of stuff that's kind of just like, this is too much material now to like fit in this space anymore, right? So I'm trying to kind of shape a little bit of this back just to kind of see where we're at. And then I'm probably gonna have to take the Dremel and trim away some of this extra plastic that's just kind of in the way now. So for now, we're just doing some melting. And I use the heat gun for this too. I'm just being time efficient, you know? That's one way to put it. Lazy is another way to put it. And a lot of dudes would normally rip the, like, all the paint off the area they're working on kind of first. With this type of like thing, where like what I'm doing right now, that makes sense, right? Because you can see like little chunks of plastic kind of getting everywhere, or paint kind of getting everywhere, which is annoying. But when it comes to kind of getting the shape of the bumper back proper, I like to have the paint there because it gives me a better guide for where I'm at. The bare plastic is really like, it's dull, and then it's got all the little hairs and stuff, and it makes it really hard to kind of see what's going on. So I like the paint to be there. It's still shiny, so I could kind of look at it and be like, oh cool, it's not really that warped anymore, you know, I'm pretty close, and then I'll rip all the paint off of it. Do my final sanding, we'll put some putty on there, which I didn't put in the necessary tools, you know, because I forgot about half this stuff, I'll admit right now. All right, we're gonna go ahead and heat up a bigger area. And then make sure you don't touch it with your bare hands, because that's not good. Don't do that. You can see there's just way too much schmutz right there. This is a necessary tool with any paint project. It's not just bumpers, you know. If you don't have a pack of good razor blades, you don't paint. Another tool, dual action sander. Much better. All right, now we got the plastic exposed. It's a little bit easier to see what's going on here. See, we're getting somewhere now. We're starting to get that leveled out, so it's not all nasty and, you know, discombobulated. I think what I want to do at this point is try to start getting some of this shape back a little bit. And I think kind of what I have going on is it's still a little tiny bit high right here, but we've got a big old low spot through this crease right here. So we're gonna go ahead and heat this up through here, and then I'm gonna get the dolly back behind it and just kind of start pushing it out. And the important thing with the plastic is it takes it a while to cool down. So you're gonna get it super hot, and then you're gonna have to kind of keep maneuvering it, you know, into shape and kind of keeping it where you want it to be. You can use a little bit of compressed air, or, you know, something like that, wet rag maybe, to just kind of rapidly cool it after you heat it up if you want to kind of hold it in shape. So now that it's all warmed up and you can see it's massaging it kind of back out into shape, I've got the dolly with the peak of it pressing the low spot out. And then I'm just using the little flat spoon to kind of press down a little bit on the high spot just to kind of even everything out. And we're just gonna keep slowly working this main area of damage kind of back and forth a little bit to get that straightened out. Up next, I think I want to do a little bit more down here. Actually start this and get some of this kind of massaged back into shape, and then grind all the paint off of it. So you can see the one spot up here that had that really nasty like dent, and then it had all the ripples and high spots. I went ahead and I heated that, and I got it all really close to the point where I was actually able to just take the DA and just kind of feather down the plastic a little bit and use the thickness of the bumper cover to just kind of even it out. So you can see it's still plenty rigid. I didn't take away a bunch of material, but now it's just nice and smooth again, and that's going to really minimize the amount of filler that we have to put in that area to get this all straightened out and looking correct again. I can feel that we still got a little bit of a dip through here that the paint was kind of hiding, so I'm going to go ahead and get that spot raised up. Yeah, just this crease right through here, and then we'll finish this, and then I'll start the repair on the back side of getting this crease and everything kind of prepped out. So I just have this little spoon back behind there. This is like a planishing spoon, or like a digging spoon for doing metal work, but it's got a nice little curve kind of this way and this way, and it's real subtle, and I figured it kind of replicated this bend a little nicer than I could do with just kind of pressing my palm back there. So I'm just pushing on the back side to just kind of wedge this plastic out in like a nice uniform bend, and I think that did the trick. And then I'm using the one on the top to kind of press down on some of this that was still a little bit high over on this side. So I'm just kind of pushing up here, pushing down here ever so slightly, just to kind of manipulate the plastic where I want it. So I don't think I'm gonna use the plastic to level this one out. It's a little bit too low still, so I'm gonna heat it up and just press this guy up a little bit, and then just feather it out with the DA again. I heated up that low spot, got it pushed up just a little bit, and then it feathered out real nice with the DA. So I'd say this section is good. The last little thing that I have to kind of fine tune is this body line through here. You can see it kind of does a little, that's because this edge is still a tiny bit low. So that one's gonna be a little bit annoying. I think I'm gonna try to heat it up and then get back behind there with something kind of sharp and pointy, and just kind of gently massage that edge out just a little bit. So I went ahead and flipped this thing over, and now on the back you can see the plastic's still a little bit mangled up and stuff like that, but we're gonna prep up the back side of this to add some rigidity to the spots where it's cut through. So I'm gonna go ahead and just DA out some of this in 80 grit, get this flattened out, and then I'm gonna hot staple across these seams where it's split. And then we're gonna do the epoxy or the, the two-part adhesive stuff on the backside with the mesh to just cover over all this, put a little bit of backing behind this, and then also, give the whole area a little bit more support. I'm gonna go ahead and hot staple the back side of this. Essentially, these just work like stitches on a wound. Then just kind of, hold everything together and put a little bit of strength back in the repair too. So the trick with these is you want to try to melt them down about halfway into the material. Like yay, let off the trigger, give it a twist so that it sets in, and then you gotta wait and let the plastic cool down before you pull it off the prongs. That way it doesn't, rip it back out of the plastic while it's still hot. So I went ahead and got it all stapled up. We just clipped the little pieces off the ends of the staples, and then I took a 36 grit flapper disc and just kind of ground up back here a little bit. So what I'm gonna do right now is use a little bit of this alcohol-based cleaner. It's not Simple Green, it's just in a Simple Green bottle, because we hood. And just gonna kind of wipe this up a little bit, make sure there's no grease or contaminants or anything on the surface. The product we're gonna be using for the back of this is by 3M. It's just a little plastic bonding adhesive. This is one of those obnoxious things that it's like a price barrier type deal that, makes it so the average person is kind of like, dude, I don't want to do this, because it's not this that's super expensive, but the plunger thing, these, to mix like the two-part stuff together and like plunge it simultaneously, those are expensive. This is like 90 bucks. So there's probably, there's products that are commercially available that don't require using this, kind of like that stuff. The other stuff that I had, that's the Sure Seal stuff. This is just two tubes, kind of like JB Weld, where it's just two tubes of, mix part A, part B, and stir it together and whatever. So if you're doing this in your garage or something, and you're just looking for a cheaper alternative, trying to do it yourself, save some money, then you're probably gonna want to look for something like that. So now we're gonna take this drywall tape, this plastic repair mesh, and we're just gonna trim it to size so that we don't have to do it while we're waiting for that epoxy to set up and stuff. This has a really short work time, so I don't wanna, be fumbling around with other stuff. We're just gonna kind of set it and forget it, essentially. But I like to put the epoxy on first, and then I'll stick this on over top of it. Just like that. So I feathered outside the repair area to about here with 150 grit, and out here some 150 grit. You always want to make sure that anywhere that you might wind up with any kind of, body filler, polyester filler, that it has some good mechanical tooth in it, at least a 150 grit, ideally 80, but anywhere from 80 to 150 is fine. We got it all scratched up. I went over it with the alcohol-based cleaner and just got any contaminants and stuff kind of wiped off the surface, make sure it's good and clean, free of wax, grease, oil, or debris. And now we're going to put some flexible glazing putty. It's designed for doing plastic repairs and stuff like that. Make sure that if you're doing something like this, use a flexible putty because it's gonna crack if you don't use flexible stuff. For the majority of the sanding on this repair, I'm pretty sure I can get away with just using one block. Just one of these little foam doodads. These are, you know, any paint store you go to should carry these. They're like $8, right? And this is just kind of general purpose, flexible sanding block. Just, you don't want to use your hand on a piece of sandpaper. You're just going to wind up with a bunch of weird grooves dug everywhere. And these are universally good for like a lot of different applications. So I've got some 80 on here right now. I'm gonna go ahead and get started and just kind of knock down the worst of it real quick with the 80. Then I'm gonna switch to the 150, and then we're gonna feather edge it all with the DA in 220 before I prime it. So I got this all sanded out in 150. I was feeling over it and I could tell that something wasn't quite right through here. But a lot of times with plastic, when you have little bits of like the actual plastic sticking through, it makes it really hard to kind of tell what's going on with just your bare hand because the little hairs in the plastic always make it feel like it's a high spot. So what you can do is just grab a regular, you know, paper towel and place it between your hand and the surface, and then you can feel over it, and then you'll have a little bit better gauge on what's going on. And to me, it feels like I still have a little bit of a low spot kind of trailing through the center here. So I'm gonna go ahead and just do another quick little skim, thin skim of filler over this section, let it cure, sand it in, and then I'll double check it with a little bit of wax and grease remover, and I'll show you guys how to do that, so you can get kind of a good idea of how it's going to look when it's all said and done. So it's all in 220 grit, feathered out. Now if you don't have one of these pump sprayers or anything, I have heard that you can use the ones from like the garden section at like Ace or something, and all I have in here is just wax and grease remover. I wouldn't recommend using water or anything like that for this part, because this is really porous and you don't really want to be soaking it down with water. You can also probably just use a regular like spray bottle, but essentially all you do is just mist it down, and it lets you get a good look at the repair without having to spray primer on it, so you can, you know, catch any big mistakes or anything before you get there. Came out pretty clean. This line came out nice. Got it all straightened out and stuff. It just took a little bit on the edge there to get it really dialed in. Aside from that, this repair is all done. Take what you will from all this. You might have to do some of this stuff to your bumper. You might have to do all of it. You might have just a tear. You might have a dent. You might, I don't know. Hopefully you can fix your stuff now and you can get back to shooting 9 holes with your buds. Oh, that's right, we gotta paint it first. That's in a separate video though. So if you wanna see that, drop a comment below, let us know if you're stoked on some paint work. Till next time, y'all.